All right, I am back, and I am joined at this point by Kim Theis. She is the CEO of Be Data. Kim, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. How's your conference going so far?
It's going great. This has been one of the favorite events I've attended in a really long time.
This is your first time?
It is my first time here at Data Connect.
Yeah.
First time here in Columbus, Ohio.
Welcome to Columbus, Ohio. Great food scene here, as I've told a few other folks, and JGP and I got some dinner for those who have stuck with this episode and our editing. I spoke with JGP earlier, and he's from the data mesh learning community. He also works at Be Data. But Kim, you gave a talk, here at Data Connect. Tell us more about that talk.
Yeah, so a lot of my focus and research over the last year or two since leaving PayPal has been around actually getting ROI from data-driven projects. And I've been working a lot on the equation and how we think about it. It changes the way I think projects should be pitched. And we're seeing more and more projects fail. In fact, 30% of data-driven projects are failing today, which has resulted in 18% less investment in data-driven projects.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to find ways to help our customers as well as friends and family within the data space better articulate the value of moving to data product and what you can yield from it.
Got it. And you talk around the different personas on the ROI and how do you bring them in. I'm curious if you can expand more a little bit and summarize that part for our audience.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with the personas, actually. I decided to take the personas and create them as superhero women. And so it's the League of Extraordinary Women.
Love this.
Yes. And we talk about 5 different kind of prototype characters in the stories. There's like the visionary, which is the leader in the company. And that leader can be within a team, or it can be an overall leader of a company that has that big vision around what tomorrow could be. May not necessarily know how to get there, but they're a great evangelist and bring everyone together around a common vision. So that's an example of, she's titled The Visionary.
Love it.
Example of one of them. So several other characters in there as well. And they're representative of people that I've worked with in my life that have really made some of the data-driven projects I've led successful.
Yeah. Someone I was talking with earlier is really around the idea of this hero's journey. And so having a prescribed superhero league of these individuals, I love that they're all women, how relevant for women in analytics, Data Connect. But the story that we often have to tell, that data people often aren't great storytellers. They really think the facts speak for themselves. They have a trouble sometimes articulating to get funding back to that narrative on exactly how this data is going to help solve a business problem and move their customers forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I've been in organizations and I have been the subject of someone who has done terribly at articulating that story. And so I figured out what the story needed to be to sell it.
Yeah.
Because to your point, data's becoming sexy because of AI, but unless it's an AI play, no one wants to invest in it.
Right. And, it used to be we could just put AI in front of any project and boom, magic, funded. Well, corporations have figured out it's not boom, magic.
Yeah.
There are some investments worth making in the space and others that aren't. And I think for those of us that work in the data product field, like thinking about how we create reusable products out of our data, it's even more important to be able to articulate what that return on investment is, because they're really the building block of AI and any modeling that we're doing downstream, even predictive analytics, right? So, I think the classic equation that's used for ROI is total cost of investment, and then you divide that and there's like a current value and everything, and it's outdated.
Yeah.
And the reason is I need to bring context into what's being delivered. And a lot of the context we think about from an individual project perspective. Yeah. We're doing this project, there's going to be this outcome. But how can other parts of a company use the results, especially of data products that we're building? The other piece is strategy. So how does it grow over time and how does it continue to evolve? You can't necessarily know the future, but you can look into the future a little bit and say, okay, we're doing this one small incremental project, but here's some ways it could grow and the value that it can bring. Yeah. So it makes a much more compelling case for ROI. And then finally, benefits is something else that we need to think about. And benefits often aren't quantifiable. But it's okay to put qualified benefit, I think, into the ROI equation. Hey, we're going to have happier people because they have better tools, or they have, access to data that actually has context around it or can be trusted. Oh my gosh, those little things that make life better. So that's one of the things that I've been working on, is really teasing out what that equation can be for the future.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks don't index enough on sort of these softer metrics that you can measure.
Yeah.
Like you can poll people to determine what is your perception of this trustworthiness of this data.
Right.
Do you find that this data has good quality?
Yeah.
When you're manipulating and utilizing it? It was a survey that I ran at a previous client, and they found, and it wasn't a broad survey, but it was around different departments and different practitioners who had a good representation. At best, they trusted their data 50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
At worst, it was about 13.
Yeah.
Granted, this is perception. They were worried about their own data security, data governance, data access. And I think that was an eye-opener for a lot of folks, that they needed to maybe invest more in just broadening the perception of their data and what value it was having, and the rigor they were approaching with it. Because some of the perception was someone's reality, but may not have been what was actually happening. But like those sorts of qualities, to me, are what really indicators of success for a product.
Yeah.
Particularly when you can measure a change in behavior as the success of a product. And I'm always trying to figure out, and I don't know if I do this well, I hope I do as a product manager, but what are those behavioral metrics that I have to figure out how to measure, because each way is different.
It was really interesting at the conference day. I actually had someone come up after the talk that I gave, and she said, we're measuring happiness as our team as one of the indicators.
Yeah.
And there are tools out there, all kinds of HR tools out there to measure those things. And it's not common for us to think about it when we're building data products.
Yeah.
But it's tremendous value, again.
Like, how confident do you, what is your level of confidence, especially with a tool? Like, if you're migrating from one tool to another, as we migrate these different workflows or tasks, do you have a more sense of confidence using this new tool than the old tool?
Yeah.
Does that increase over time? And I think when we're designing data products, it's not just about the end result of the data that's fed, but what is the overall experience that I have with that product?
Yeah.
And we don't, there's not really discussions around like this concept of a data product designer. We have now data product managers, we've got data engineers, and I think the next step is really to start uncovering, what does data product design look like?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's interesting because I've had a number of conversations this week around data product design. So I think you're ahead of the game on that one. Something you said also resonated with me. Like, we've been talking about the returns on the foundation, but we haven't really been talking around the costs too much around investment. And this is why we're seeing less, I think, investment being made in data projects today, is because we try and say, okay, here's ways we can cut costs to get to the data faster so that you can do the AI fun things, right? But we aren't talking about the hidden cost. And this is an entire new learning curve for so many people moving to data product, moving to data contract, using new systems, new BI tools, right? And so when we're putting together our business cases around how we want to go about it, it's important to bring those hidden costs to the front and maybe even over-index on the human factor up front and the change that's going to be required. Yeah. So I think, what you had just said around, hey, this is cool, a new tool, I'm excited about it. Good. Are we calculating what it's going to take to learn that new tool?
Did you have a chance to sit in on Lindsay Murphy's talk yesterday?
I did not.
I wanted to talk about containment. You should find her. She's a friend of mine. She used to be head of data at Sakota, and I got the opportunity to meet her. But one of the things she talks about also is that some of your costs that you think are static, a lot of these platform companies have moved to variable pricing.
Right.
And so now what you had indexed for 3 years as a budget, you can no longer predict. The other thing is like data literacy amongst your people matter, because she quoted an instance where one employee would just select star from a table. And that cost $5,000 per query.
Wow.
Because of the way these things were. And I have, in the earlier days when I was a senior analyst, and I'm not good at data as far as like querying, I'm just a bad SQL person, but I got my spool space limited on an old data warehouse. Yeah. Because by the DBA, who was like, stop running this query.
Right.
And so I'm really interested in how do we design experiences for these data engineers, data scientists to, one, land and stage their data better from a platform perspective, and then how do we maximize regular business folks' ability to access and use data without increasing that cost?
Exactly. And that cost containment is really tough. I can't wait to go back and watch Lindsay. I met her. She's fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And, I can't wait to go back and watch. And shameless plug for Data Connect. You can actually, I think, purchase videos afterwards of the conference if you didn't attend. So, yeah. In terms of cost containment, I think the other thing is we are going to have to build observability. And this is one of the tools we're working via data is build observability of how we think about using those data products, right? Not just the number of queries, the call, how long the query is running, but also how often is this data product used? We spin it up or down, or there are components of it that aren't even leveraged anymore. And how do we keep evolving?
Yeah. You'll hear Lindsay talking some tactical stuff that she shared in her talk when this episode drops. So I'll be certain to send it to you rather than rehashing it here. But I think that is so vital, particularly as data becomes more nested and necessary. My biggest call out, though, to folks working in the space is learn how to tell the narrative that your data wants to share.
Yeah.
It's not enough to share your tidbits and facts and how can I tell a narrative when an executive wants 3 bullet points?
Right.
And you really have to solidify, here's the business problem and the member or customer or user problem. Here's what we're solving.
Yeah.
And the journey that they're going on.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, it's arduous work. But, any other last hot takes or things that you're going to leave the conference with that you didn't realize you came in didn't know you needed to hear?
It's not just what I needed to hear, it's what I needed to feel. Oh. And I think this conference, I got all the feels from the puppies and Prosecco. Oh. It's a certain feel, right?
Yeah.
To just the excitement of the next generation of women and minorities that are coming into the workplace.
That we're making
that
space.
Are so excited about using data. Yeah. I was literally talking to a gal yesterday who was jumping up and down as she was telling me about one of the data models she was working on. I haven't seen that level of excitement in a long time, and it gives me such a big hope, not only for the future, but it refueled me.
I love that.
Really excited.
It's interesting. I wish we would have had my co-host Franny come in for this because, it's weird being a man interviewing all these wonderfully brilliant women and recognizing this is an anomaly in this space.
It is.
That there are so many brilliant women. And we've made, through Regan and Women in Analytics, this platform for women to talk about their work.
Yeah.
I feel like we need more spaces like this.
And it's not just that it's a lot of women getting together in this. The environment that she has created is one that is encouraging. Yeah. So whether it's your first time here or you're, a little more seasoned like I might be, you feel welcomed and included. And that inclusion is so important. It doesn't happen a lot in our industry. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have participated.
I couldn't have said it better. Well, Kim, I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Enjoy the rest of your time in Columbus. I know you're heading out later today, but it was such a privilege and treat to be able to chat with you.
Loved every minute.
Yeah, saying thank you so much and, safe travels.
Okay. Thanks.